if I did go back and tell my 25-year-old self that was hustling so hard and so severely underpaid that I would have this flexibility and, be where I'm at, like I would be really proud of that.
Hey everyone, welcome to Lone Startup. I'm Pat Kaloran, and I'm here to shine a light on Austin's most impressive entrepreneurs. From locally owned small businesses to global brands, Austin has an endless supply of inspiration. We sometimes just have to slow our scroll, take a breath, and listen. Let's dive in. All right, the sun is shining, South by Southwest is officially in full swing, and Austin is buzzing with events happening all over the city. I was just telling my wife, spring feels like the season when everything kicks back into gear. That coffee networking event you ignored in January, suddenly it's back on your calendar. The whole community seems to get its mojo back. And my guest today, she knows this scene better than most. Sarah Wolf is the founder of Wolf Company, where she runs marketing and event strategy for some of Austin's most beloved brands. Think Austin Chronicle, Homeslice Pizza, Independence Brewing. But beyond throwing great events, she's passionate about weaving local causes and nonprofits into the mix, making sure our community isn't just gathering, it's growing. That passion led her to create Good Party ATX, a go-to guide for the best community-driven events in town. And when she's not organizing Austin's social calendar, she's fostering dogs and working with local shelters to give pups a second chance. Sarah's story is a reminder that building something meaningful isn't always about big funding rounds or flashy headlines. Sometimes it's about blending your passion with your skills, embracing the community you love, and showing up for the people and pups who need it most. This is my conversation with Sarah Wolf.
So I spent probably shy of a year in LA, moved out there as you do out of college, had some friends in LA, wanted to live near the beach. Most of my friends out there were pursuing acting dreams, wanted to be comedians, wanted to work in film, which is really cool. I had a 9-to-5 nonprofit job. I took the job because I wanted to learn events, still trying to find that thread. But I was in the finance department. I was processing donations. I'm not great at doing things like that. I know my strengths and weaknesses, and I get bored real easily. And that was a drain. So I didn't stay in LA too long. Glad I did it. Again, one of those young things that you're you just moved to LA with. I moved there with no job, no place to live, crashed with friends, figured it out, So I'm glad I did that when I was young. But then when I got the chance to come back to Austin, I didn't know it super well. I had only been here a few months. And at the time I was living way north when I interned. So I had a chance to come back and I just did it and pieced together kind of some random jobs before I landed in my industry.
Yeah. And so, the nonprofit stuff, which you are still very much involved in, today, you were doing that even then, right out of college, you were kind of involved with some nonprofit stuff. Was that has that always been a kind of a calling to you to want to help out on the nonprofit side of things? Did you do a lot of nonprofit stuff as a kid growing up? Or were your parents involved in nonprofits? Or where did that sort of kind of stem from, do you think?
No. My family wasn't really involved in a lot of specific causes. Like a lot of good Dallas girls, I grew up going to church a couple times a week and just school and was a theater kid, but I wasn't involved in too much outside of that. I think going to college, both at Virginia Tech and A&M, got me more involved in social causes. Mm-hmm. And especially, I always joke around about this, going to A&M made me more aware of some social causes that I cared about because it was a conservative school, if that makes sense. I acted in the vagina monologues. I volunteered at Planned Parenthood. I just got way more involved in different things that I hadn't known about in high school.
Gotcha.
And so I don't think I was looking at it from a perspective of I want to work for a nonprofit or do charity work or do anything like that. It's just my interests kind of shifted.
Organically.
Yeah. And it's kind of I definitely partied hard in college and had a fantastic time. But I also was always the type of person that if I saw something that needed to be improved or something we should care about, it would make me really mad if people weren't caring about it and paying attention or talking about it or doing something. And so I would kind of just like in small ways start, okay, well, I'm gathering clothing for the women's shelter, and then drop those off, and then realize, oh man, like Bryan College Station at the time, I don't know how it is now, had a huge issue with like teen pregnancies, and they needed mentors for these girls. So then it's like I found out about that, did a mentorship. Like it just kind of would snowball, but I never went in thinking like I would do nonprofit work. And the California job was honestly the first place that would hire me. I was like, sold. I need an apartment.
Right.
So it just kind of worked out like that and gave me some experience.
Gotcha. Very cool. And then, so you've also, since college, you kind of had your own side hustle in some shape or form.
Yeah.
It started off as Wolf Company.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of transformed into, or now it's kind of bifurcated into Good Party ATX as well. But initially, you were kind of doing some side hustling on helping with events, like you said. Like you were kind of just helping people with freelancing, putting events together and whatnot. And then that sort of helped you find a real kind of 9 to 5 in sort of that space. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So initially, like I said, I wanted to go into event production here in Austin. And so any job I had, if they had any sort of client events or things like that, I would be like, can you put me on that committee, or can you put me on that team? Can I help with that? Eventually, I was like working the front desk at an ad agency, planning like their hipster parties for clients at the time. And every opportunity I've had here in Austin has been through networking. That's what I think is so incredible about Austin. While I had that job, someone came in as a temp, and I told them what I was like trying to learn. And they said, oh, my friend works for a magazine and they're hiring an events person. You should go talk to them. And at the time, it was a magazine in town called Rare Magazine. It was this cool, funky, like free monthly publication, kind of similar to like a Tribeza, but it was like a different side of Austin. And so through that connection, I got my first like event planning job, first job in the media world. Did that for a while. And then that led to like more and more positions that expanded my event experience, and then eventually led me into the more like marketing, PR, journalism side of town when I landed at the Chronicle. So it just kind of like ebbed and flowed from there.
Yeah. And so was the Chronicle, was that a pretty big jump for you? Like, was that a pretty big deal at the time, like getting that working there?
Yeah, it was. At the time I was actually skeptical about interviewing. I had the magazine job, which gave me a lot of super, super valuable experience, but it was still it was on a shoestring budget. It wasn't something that I could do forever as Austin was growing and prices were going up, right? Yeah. So then I got my first like really, super adult job at Bass Concert Hall at UT, working there, doing like house management, working all the theater shows that came in, special events. And then after that, I worked doing social media for an ad agency where I would travel to these big concerts they put on for the Microsoft store at the time that was launching all these shops. They needed like these hybrid people that understood event flow, but also got social media, which I had always worked in because it just, came out when I was doing all these jobs. And it was kind of a hybrid position that was really interesting. So I was traveling a lot with that job. And I had a friend reach out and say the longtime marketing director at the Chronicle was moving to Houston, and they really wanted to get someone in there that knew Austin. Like it really helps for that position if you know local businesses and who's who and the events. The event season. Like, well, March is South by. Like what's going on.
Yep.
And at the time, I was like, I don't know. Like my job right now lets me travel. Like I was, flying out of state a couple times a month, which I thought was cool. But it was also an ad agency, which was making me cry a lot. And I was having to work like Black Friday and like over Christmas. Yeah. Anybody that has ad agency experience will know sometimes clients are emailing you in the middle of the night. It's pretty intense, more intense than I like to be in my work life.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, why not? It's always good to interview, right? That's my advice for everyone. Just go take the meeting, take the coffee and see what's up. And then when I got to the Chronicle, and I had read the Chronicle for years to figure out what was going on in Austin, it just really felt like home. I walked in, I didn't know anyone there, but everybody was just so friendly. They had the office dog named Hank, who we just recently lost, but we loved so much. Hank was like literally in my interview getting fed treats the whole time. I joke about how they were like halfway listening to me because I was like, is this an interview or are we just hanging out with the dog? Like, do y'all hate me? Like, what's going on?
That's funny.
But it just clicked right away. And I was really lucky that they offered me that position. And it gave me something I was interested in because by that point, I had probably had 10 years of event experience at that point. And I had like kind of put on a vision board that I wanted to learn more about like the Austin media scene, PR, being a spokesperson, like getting in front of a camera. I wanted to have more like stage experience. I just was ready for more than behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And the Chronicle really gave me that, because part of my role there was to not only book writers on local TV shows, but I would also go represent the paper, talk about the issue, talk about, the Hot Sauce Festival is one of their events. I'd go talk about that event on camera, do a tasting.
So you kind of more the face of the event side of
it. Yeah. And it was perfect for me doing radio interviews. I loved all of that. And really just being an Austin busybody. Like if you could make a job that was the position. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I can finally get paid for me like being nosy and butting in everyone's business and knowing what's going on all the time, like perfect.
Yeah. Are you kind of a natural extrovert? Like, do you get a lot of energy from going out and going to events and meeting people? Like, is that always been pretty enjoyable to you?
Yeah, I guess most people would say I am. Like most of my friends are like, I don't know how you do it. You have to go to all this stuff. I think I definitely thrive in those situations. Of course, like anybody, I need like time to recharge. So say after a busy week like South by Southwest, where we'll be out for like 10 days straight doing stuff and talking to people, I'll need like that next weekend. Like I'm not hanging out. I'm not going to dinner. I'm not putting on makeup. Like I'm staying home and kind of recharging, because I definitely need that too.
Yeah. Hanging home with your dog and chilling.
Yeah. Movies. Like I'm still a couch potato for sure.
Yeah. And you got a dog when you first moved to Austin, right? Was it Rufus or?
Yes, Rufus, the love of my life. I got him. Yeah, gosh, I had no business having a pet. It was probably like I had been maybe a month or two in town. I already knew that the job I had at the time I was going to leave because I hated it. It was like a 3-month job. And it was actually, I was dating someone at the time that had adopted him from the city shelter. This is like really before Austin Pets Alive was around, or maybe right at the beginning, but it's when the city shelter was on Town Lake.
Okay.
And we weren't a no-kill city yet. And so he adopted Rufus, who I thought was really cool, but I was like, yeah, we're not ready to have a dog. And then pretty soon after, he was like, I'm not ready to have a dog. I can't train this dog. I'm going to take him back. And I was like, no, not taking the dog back. So needless to say, we did not last long in that relationship in Austin, but Rufus stayed. I was like, no, I'll keep the dog.
Yeah.
And it was the best decision ever. And like, he was perfect. He's my buddy. And he got me really like open my eyes to the whole world of animal rescue and loving dogs.
Yeah, because it's been a big part of your life since then, right? You're still obviously very involved. We were just talking before we started recording. Every Friday you go on CBS, We Are Austin, right? And talk about all the dogs at the shelters. And you highlight a dog every Friday. Is that right?
Yes, I do. Yeah, this is something I've been going on CBS for years. And before the pandemic, sometimes I would bring on a special guest, like a human guest, to talk about like an event in town. We'd do like a chef demo, make a cocktail, whatever was related to the event, we would do that. And then the pandemic happened, we had to record virtually during that time. And then once things slowly reopened, they had some limitations on how many people could be in the studio, like a lot of businesses did. And so we were like, well, how can we make this fun? Because at the time I had already left the Chronicle. So I was doing this as Good Party, talking about weekend events. And I don't have anything to show off. I don't have a newspaper to show off. I don't have props for my event list. And so we were like, well, let's bring an adoptable dog. Like, I know how to handle dogs. I know most of the rescues here in town, so I can coordinate it. They don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be temporary until we had more guests on. And then honestly, everyone at the station loves it. The staff likes to come out and meet the dogs and cuddle, and everyone looks forward to it. So I was like, we can keep it dogs. It's fine.
That's amazing. No, I love it. I was watching one of the episodes on YouTube. I was just checking it out. It's like so cool. You like actually bring the dog and play with it on live TV. And there's dogs just hanging out there.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like such a cool way to highlight the dogs, especially the ones, that need a home. And it reminded me, do you watch Shrinking, the TV show?
Yeah.
And like Liz, the neighbor next door mom, she like, she's really passionate about the dogs at the shelters, and she takes like the headshots of the dogs, right? And so I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of what Liz is doing to like try to, come up with another way to really shine a light on these dogs that need a home.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's such a creative way to really kind of personalize, those dogs and give them some airtime.
And it helps. I mean, I will say we have gotten so many dogs from the show adopted. And it's incredible. We've even had I wish we always talk about how like we need some sort of follow-up system with stats. It's hard because sometimes you'll know right away, like someone will say, hey, someone reached out to us to adopt this dog and they said they saw you on the show with them, and that's perfect. Sometimes you don't know, or, it can plant a seed in someone's head and they reach out like a couple weeks later. So it's kind of hard to trace. But one time I had a dog in the studio and we're doing the live interview, and there was like a group tour there for something else with the news station. They're there touring the behind the scenes, and they're watching our segment, and then we're done, we wrapped, and we're walking out. And I'm walking out with the pup, and this guy comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, is that dog really up for adoption?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's not fake. Like, this dog needs a home." And he's like, "I've been looking for a dog, and this dog is perfect." And he adopted that dog.
Wow.
Like
on the spot.
Like literally, like we're in the studio, and I'm like, "This is perfect." And
that's awesome.
And we just had so many, people watch the show, adopt a dog. I also personally am like a dog matchmaker. So I've brought dogs before and been like, "You would be perfect for this person I know." And I like FaceTime them from the studio, and that's worked out too. I've gotten some dogs adopted.
That's so cool. Do you work with kind of all the shelters, or like what's kind of your involvement?
Most of them, and I'm happy to, always expand my circle if someone's listening to this and wants to reach out and be a part of it. I kind of try to rotate and spread the love. So I'll do like the Austin Humane Society, Austin Pets Alive, Austin Animal Center. I work a lot with Happy Hearts Dog Rescue. They're a really small group that's all volunteer run. Totally lovely. And I just know them well, so I can text them and be like, "Hey, I need a dog for tomorrow." We just had one on last week with Happy Hearts that I actually think one of my neighbors watched, and they're like filling out an application. So I don't want to jinx anything, but I think that's another win for the show. Nice. Who else? Austin Bulldog Rescue is going to be one of my upcoming dog guests.
Cool.
Pug Rescue of Austin. So sometimes the breed specific ones too.
Yeah,
so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's so many in town. Austin has a lot of great rescues here.
Yeah, no, I love it. And Austin's such a big dog city, right? And I know we'll get back to Good Party ATX, and I mean the completely glossed over.
I want to hear about the dogs.
But the dog stuff is I know very relevant to a lot of people in Austin. But I wanted to ask you, so actually my wife's uncle Rick, sadly passed away recently, but he was a big. He fostered dogs for like 20 years here in Austin. He was a big dog lover, really passionate about it. And I always admired it because it looked like, at times a lot of work because sometimes he'd have, 5 or 6 at one time.
Wow.
But a lot of the people that I know foster, they're definitely very passionate about, dogs, and they're really good at it, and they're very experienced. This might be a dumb question, but just to ask you, like, who is a good candidate to foster? Can it be a situation where somebody isn't sure if they want to rescue, but they want to try it out? Or is it mainly somebody has a lot of experience with dogs and rescues who'd be a better fit for fostering a dog?
You know what I'll say is, I think anybody can be a good fit for a foster. For a lot of rescues, they ask that fosters make a 2-week commitment, and that's so that they don't have dogs just popping around everywhere, right? Like they have to keep track of the dogs. They have to know, is this dog at a shelter? Are they in a foster home? If someone reaches out, can I meet this dog to adopt them? They have to know where they're at. They can't be like, this house for 2 nights, this house for 2 nights. So a lot of them ask for that commitment. I tell people it's a great way if you are, either not ready to adopt a dog or you're not sure if you're ready to have a dog. Commit to fostering for just a couple weeks, because that'll show you the routine that you have. You do have to keep in mind dogs, especially shelter dogs, take a while to decompress. So they're not going to be their full personality at 2 weeks. It could take them, at least a week just to unwind from the shelter, a little bit longer to see their personality come out. So you can't just judge it on that. But it'll give you an idea of like the responsibility side, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Or for people that are like, I'm traveling later in the year, I can't adopt a dog. Well, if you're not traveling now for the next month or so, like foster a dog. You get a dog buddy, it gets them out of the shelter. It also is so important because it gives adopters really good notes on the dog. Like, they're cool with cats. They met a neighborhood cat, they're cool with them, or they're not cool with them, or they're great with kids, or they're cool with other dogs, or they love to lay on the couch, or, they're house trained. Any of those notes are like so valuable in trying to get a dog adopted.
Yeah.
And then I'll also mention when you're like, what do you tell someone that's like brand new to fostering? If they even want to just dip their toe in it, like a little less, groups like Austin Pets Alive have these programs where you can actually check a dog out and go like for a run on the trail. Go take them like on a doggy date out in the city. You can go take them to like, go grab a coffee downtown at Joe's Coffee, go walk the trail, get notes so you can see how they do. They're going to give you a dog that they think will do well, right? They're not going to give you a dog that like can't be around anybody.
Yeah.
But it just helps give them a shelter break And then you can like kind of see that. And they also do let people take dogs home for sleepovers, especially when we have like weather episodes. So when it gets really cold or really hot in Austin, they'll put out a plea that says, can you come take a dog home, for a few nights, get them out of the cold, or take them home for the 4th of July so they don't have to be so close to the fireworks, things like that. And so that's a really good way to help. Right. That's like low commitment. Because I think people get scared like, I'll have to foster this dog forever if no one adopts them. And that's not the case with rescues.
Yeah, no, that's great feedback and great insights on the whole fostering process. Going back to, Good Party ATX, how did that... Eventually, you kind of went full time on this, but after the Chronicle, like what was kind of the steps between the Chronicle and then really going full time Good Party ATX? What did that sort of look like? Because I know eventually there was a moment where you did take a leap and say, okay, I'm going full time into this. Can you talk a little bit about like that period of your life there?
Yeah, well, it started out just as some social media pages like on Instagram and Facebook and a little website, like a little blog. It's a very humble blog. But I found myself from working at the Chronicle, like I said, I was always talking about events, things to do, what's going on in town, right? I always knew that. And then just from being involved with the different animal rescues and other different nonprofits in town, I would find that friends or friends of friends would always like email me or text me and say, they'd always ask me 2 things. What's going on this weekend and how can we get involved? Like, where can I donate men's jackets? Or how can I go walk a dog or foster a dog? Or how do we donate to the food bank? Like, I was always getting asked this sort of stuff.
Became this central hub of knowledge.
Yeah. And I was like, instead of like me texting people the same, you should go eat here, you should go do this. And a lot of times I always would try to promote like, oh, you should go to this cool bar. They're one of my favorites. And when their drinks this weekend, give back to the food bank or whatever, like those kind of hybrid events.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, let me just start a little social media page. And that way I can put up stuff I know and tell people anything I know, I'll put up there. That way you don't have to text me late at night. You can just go check that. Yeah. So that's kind of how...
Super organic.
Yeah, it started.
Just family and...
just really small and humble. I have, we still have like a small Facebook group for it too. I was just like, if you hear of anything, post it here.
Yeah.
And then I started to like host a few like happy hours that gave back to good causes. And we did a couple like volunteer outings, walking dogs at the shelter, organizing food at the food bank. And then we'd go grab like a cocktail after, just like the idea being that like you can have fun or you can go out in this town and still have it make a positive impact in Austin, and that even if you don't have like thousands of dollars to give, or you're not going to go to like a big gala, you can do these little things. If you're going to go drink a beer anyway, why not do it at this brewery that's, giving back to this weekend,
right. Yeah.
So it started like that. And when I left the Chronicle, which was like around 2019, I just kind of kept it going. And at the time I had been going on that CBS We Are Austin show through the Chronicle. And then when I left, they were like, we'd love to still have you on. You can just brand it as Good Party ATX if you like and keep that going. And I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And so that gave it kind of a bigger platform to share these events and keep telling people what I know. And I left and I did a couple years of nonprofit work for Emancipet, which is a low cost nonprofit vet clinic in town, because they were expanding and I really believe in their services, which I'll spare y'all, but I could talk about all day about the need for affordable vet care.
Yes. Pricey, but they help with vaccines, right?
Vaccines, microchips, spay, neuter. It's basically anything a healthy pet needs. They're not where you would go if your dog got sick or injured. But like I take my dog to them to get vaccines and have the money go back into them. And their vets are like the best at spay neuter because they do high volume. So like they might do, 25 surgeries a day where the average vet clinic might do like 2 of those a week or something. Wow. So it's just really incredible. They're very good and needed right now, right? As the cost of living's going up for everyone. Everyone needs those services. So I wish we had like hundreds of Emancipet clinics. They're not quite there yet, but they were expanding when I went to work with them and help them like launch those new clinics. So at the time I did that, I was able to keep Good Party going as this kind of like social platform on the side, kind of like a little media outlet in Austin. And then after a couple years at Emancipet, as you mentioned earlier, I was always doing kind of some side projects, helping with events, whether it was event production or helping someone with some marketing projects. It just got to the point where I had enough people getting referred to me as clients that I kind of had to make that call. Like I can't, I was still working full time. So I was like, I can't work 2 full-time jobs. It's too much.
Yeah.
And it felt right to like kind of take that jump and try it out. And I had some really good clients that kind of helped me soft launch that to where I was kind of booked and busy like the first year, which was really incredible. And one of my favorite things is that the Chronicle actually came back as a client so that I can still work with them in like a smaller capacity in some of my, the role of my old job. So I still help them with some like promotions and PR and things in that role. So
I mean, it's such a great testament to, like you're saying, just building that network, right? And having those relationships and not burning any bridges. And
that's what I tell everyone. Anyone that works with me or has interned with me, I'm always like, listen, do not burn bridges. Put in your appropriate notice or whatever you have to do, even if you don't like a job, because like you just never know in this town how your path will cross someone else's years later. Like I've gotten jobs or clients where they referred me to someone and they worked with me 6 years ago, and it's like, you just got to stay on good terms with people if you can. And I feel like people in Austin really look out for each other. All of my business that I've gotten has been through word of mouth referrals. I'm not the type of business that's like putting an ad out saying, hire me for marketing and community building and things like that, and it's all just come from, hey, you need help with this. You should talk to my friend Sarah.
All right, before we jump into the final part of the interview where Sarah shares one of her most creative and unexpected ideas, I want to take a moment to appreciate her approach because, let's be real, anyone can set up a website and start a business, but very few can build a kind of momentum and support needed to make it sustainable. It takes delivering real value and being the kind of person people want to work with. And that's exactly who Sarah is. I mean, how could you not want to work with somebody who moonlights as a dog fortune teller?
This is what people should want to hear. So again, like years ago, my friend was having an event at, I think it was Yard Bar at the time, and he worked for a beer company. So he was just trying to get people to come out and try the beer. We got on a animal nonprofit to help. And he was like, can you come out as like Good Party, like co-present the party? And I'm like, sure. But again, with Good Party, it's like, I'm kind of a online entity, right? Like I don't really have, like, what am I going to do at a booth? I don't have anything to do really. And so I was like, well, I need something to do. And a friend had given me some dog tarot cards that are literally themed. Like they have dogs on them. They mean different things. And I was like, let me learn these and see if anybody's into this. And it'll be weird, but it's like friends are coming. It's laid back. Let's try it. And I tried it, and we had like a line of people wanting to do it. They'd make donations for their readings. So we were raising money for the shelter. My friend was next to me like, are you sure you've never done this? This is weird. Like you could have like a 1-800 number that you call for your tarot reading. Like, you might be onto something. And and it was a slow trickle. Like after that, I think the pandemic happened. So I did a couple online things for people, but it wasn't really a thing. And then I brought it back for a couple fundraisers I did, and it kind of stuck. So now it's officially branded as Lucky Dog Tarot. I do wear like a little fortune telling hat. I have like a crystal ball. I bring a magic 8-ball. I have like different, I bring some sage and some dog treats. I have like a whole themed table. And I do these readings for people and their dogs. And what I think is the most surprising is that I tell them when they sit down, I have a little spiel. I say, this is for fun. It's lighthearted, just like dogs. We don't ask anything about life or death. That is bad luck. That is forbidden, because y'all would be surprised to know some of the crazy stuff people ask me. I'm like, no, we're not. Go to a vet. Sometimes they're like, I want to know why my dog's leg hurts. And I'm like, go to a vet. Look at me. Don't ask me. Go to a vet. And so, I let them know it's lighthearted. They get that by looking at me. But it's been really incredible, I will say, because it really makes a connection with people. And I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would literally be just like laughing and silly and everything. And sometimes it is. Party trick. Sometimes it is. But what I wasn't expecting and didn't consider is how much we love our dogs, right? We love our dogs so much. I mean, I know I do. And so when people sit down, if they're really open to it, and we pull the cards and I tell them what it means, sometimes it really resonates. And I'm not joking when I say most of the time, if I do an event, it's normally 2 hours of readings. I sit there and hang out for 2 hours, and I might see like 30 dogs. Normally, at least one person kind of cries because like it just resonates with them, or really like, and I don't know their backstory. I don't know what's going on, so, or do I? Because
yeah, right.
be a pet psychic. But it really resonates with them and they just really enjoy it. And I wasn't expecting that. Like I've gotten emotional doing it, and that makes me almost like take it a little more seriously now. I do, because I'm like, this is really special. And it just reminds us, a lot of the cards have messages like forgiveness, right? Dogs are such forgiving people, or creatures. They forgive people. They're not going to hold a grudge if you skip their dinner or, walk them too late or something like that. You have a long day at work, didn't get home on time. We have to lighten up on ourselves, be more forgiving of ourselves.
Yeah.
Love ourselves like our dogs love us. Like that sort of stuff that's kind of like, my dog thinks I'm the greatest person in the world. Why am I so mean to myself?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. Like you'll pull a card and sometimes it just hits at the right moment.
No, that's so cool. I mean, it's less about the like actual maybe fortune telling aspect of it, more the like therapy of just talking through some of these things probably with another person. You know, might just be like a emotional experience for some people, for sure. I could see. Yeah,
it's really special. I've met so many cool people and dogs. It's funny because now I'll be out at different events, like not dressed as a dog tarot reader, but I'll like recognize a dog. I'm like, I don't know his parents. I know that dog. I've met that dog. And I'll go up and be like, have you ever had your tarot cards read? And they're like, yeah, you did it. And I'm like, cool. Like, it's like we recognize each other. So that's like put me in another social circle. I might not be invited to like the underground parties anymore, but with dog people,
in your dog circle, you're definitely in there leading the charge. That's so cool. So, and you, if you could, you would want to maybe make that a bigger thing?
I mean, when you ask like, what's a dream job? I'm like, I love the work I do and working with clients. It's still client-based work, right? So you have to make people happy. When you're self-employed, like if a client leaves, I have to fill that hole because I need money, right? Yeah. Like I have to, a lot of people think my full-time job is just posting cute pictures of dogs or, and it's like, no, those things are unpaid. Let's be transparent. Like not everything I do is paid. Yep. So I have to make money. But yes, in an ideal world, some company, I don't know if it's a dog food company, maybe like, Tito's loves dogs. I love Tito's vodka.
Tito's
vodka. So a company like that could like be like, let's take the show on the road. Be like Lucky Dog Tarot and do some sort of like promotional thing, because I do think it's catchy. I've gotten, a lot of media coverage for it. It could be fun.
You've gotten written up a lot about this.
More than anything for any of my event work or good party stuff. Yeah. It like really stuck.
It is a showstopper. It's like, wait, what?
I know. I'm like, Animal Planet. Could I have my own show? Like, I just think there's something there. If you were like, create your dream job, where I could entertain people, but also show off the human dog connection, and then also get some dogs adopted along the way. And
totally,
I just bring in the sponsor part, because how else are you going to get paid? I don't know. You need somehow to get paid.
There's got to be.
So I'm donating my tarot readings back to the shelter. So it's like none of this is a money-making endeavor. But
there's got to be a sponsor out there that would love to be a part of that.
You just feel like you can live stream it. I'll do whatever. It's
fine. Have you ever done the readings on the CBS show or no?
I have. Yeah, I've done them on We Are Austin. I've done a reading on Fox, the Fox Morning Show, Good Day Austin here. Cool. I've done them on Lit.
So you got some stuff you can market this to a sponsor.
Yeah. I did them once for the radio station 101X here in town with CJ Morgan. I gave a reading to his dogs like over the radio, but I think they like live streamed it on like their Facebook page or something.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah, I've done that. And I did one reading for a porcupine with Tiny Tails to You petting zoo virtually that we did. That was really cute, but I had to adapt the dog cards for it. I don't have porcupine cards. So that really had to test my skills.
Yeah, I'm sure. Very cool. Yeah, well, hopefully Lucky Dog Tarot becomes a thing, a big thing.
Yeah, I get to come back on your show and talk about my tour.
The brand that's growing super fast at events all around the country. So what about Good Party ATX? Like, 10 years from now, where do you kind of hope you're settling into with your job and work-life balance? Yeah. What do you hope that kind of looks like?
That's a great question. One I'm still trying to, I'll be totally honest, figure out myself.
Yeah, same here.
I've been, personally hosting less events. Like I said, I used to do the kind of volunteer outings or happy hours. I've been hosting less just because there are so many incredible events to go to in town. And I have friends putting them on or venue owners putting them on. And so I'm like, I'm not really trying to compete with anyone. I'm always happy to partner up, but I'm also like, if it's already built, support that, that's my point is go support that. So from the public facing Good Party brand, of course I would always like to grow those opportunities, but I'm pretty happy there. I've gotten to MC some really great philanthropic events in town with Trevor from CBS. So
I saw that was the big one you did. And
we did Party for the Parks with the Austin Parks Foundation, which is the Wednesday in between ACL Fest weekends. It's a big fundraiser for the parks. Orville Peck played this past year. So I got to be technically I was on stage with him. Not really at the same time, but actually kind of, he walked on. So
within the same hour.
We've been on stage together. So that was just incredible. I've done the Humane Society's Puppy Bowl before with Trevor, which in our world is a pretty big deal.
Nice.
I just emceed the Central Texas Pig Rescue. I'm wearing their sweatshirt.
Oh, cool.
Their first gala this year, and that was really special. So just having those opportunities for me, that's successful for me. That is fun. I enjoy it. And on the actual money-making business side for Good Party, I'm happy when I just have a good solid group of clients. To me, when I have most of my clients are monthly, meaning it's not just project based. It's we're ongoing working together throughout the year. And when I have a good handful of those and we really get to know each other and repeat initiatives that we're working on, it's not starting over from scratch every time we get to, I get to grow their business with them. I should say that's what I do on the work side is I help people with their, building community here in Austin, lining up their own partnerships and sponsorships, growing their social media, things like that. Your marketing stuff, right?
Yep.
And so when I get to work with a business and really help them grow, that means a lot to me. So that's kind of I don't know what it looks like in 10 years. Hopefully the dog terror thing also takes off. But for Good Party, it's having that work-life balance. That's really what I want.
Yeah.
Because when I was doing full-time events or ad agency work, the hours were just brutal. And right now I have a really good balance. I'm able to do stuff like come record a really cool podcast on an afternoon.
Feels like you're basically there with a dream job, but to your point, it's just that consistency and having that being able to know you can kind of keep having a steady flow of money to allow you to do all these other fun kind of more nonprofit, not-for-profit kind of activities and extra.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because when you asked me that, it was you don't want to be I'm there, I've made it. It seems so braggy.
Yeah.
And it's there's always more. Of course, everyone would like to make more money or like to do, whatever. But I'm also man, if I did go back and tell my 25-year-old self that was hustling so hard and so severely underpaid that I would have this flexibility and, be where I'm at, I would be really proud of that.
Yeah.
So it feels pretty good.
You think that you kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
All right, that's a wrap on today's episode. Huge thanks to Sarah for sharing her journey and for all the work she does in this community. If you're looking for the best local events, want to get involved with a great cause, or just stay up to date on local dogs that are up for adoption, be sure to follow Sarah on Instagram at Good Party ATX. If you enjoyed the episode, do me a favor, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Until next time, keep building, keep showing up, and keep making Austin a better place.